Hi to all my friends and relatives in four directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy, but with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
Do you know that from birth to age 3, simple activities like talking, playing, reading, storytelling, and singing can boost your child's development? Little Moments Count provides parents and caregivers with the resources they need to make the most of your time together. Visit littlemomentscount.org for resources designed to support you in giving your child the best start in life. Again, please visit littlemomentscount.org.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
The Walker Arts Center is a proud supporter of Native Roots Radio. Visit Diani Whitehawk, Love Language, an exhibition that celebrates the Sichangu Lakota artist, centered on connection between one another, past and present, earth and sky, and traditions of Lakota abstraction. Love Language is a sweeping survey of Whitehawk's work. The Walker is always free on Thursday nights, and citizens and members of tribal nations always get free admission. More info at walkerart.org.
Metro Transit has immediate openings for mechanics to help maintain our buses, trains, and support vehicles. It's a great place to work. You'll earn a $4,000 hiring bonus, and in the first year, mechanics earn over $88,000 a year, depending on work shift. Learn more at metrotransit.org/mechanics. Our mechanics get a generous tool allowance and outstanding benefits like great medical and life insurance and a state pension. Don't wait. Apply today at metrotransit.org/mechanics. With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Tonight, rain expected with a low of 33. Thursday, snow possible with temperatures falling to 16. Cafe Latte is unlike any restaurant you've ever experienced. Grab a tray and pick from their award-winning selections of soups, salads, sandwiches, and mouth-watering desserts. Cafe Latte, Victoria Street and Grand Avenue in St. Paul, or cafelatte.com.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be Indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Couldn't cut, hitting cut again.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake.
Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakan. Hey, Kadagi to all my friends and relatives in four directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. Hey, we discuss local, national, Native news and events, and as you know, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues. Hey, this episode of Native Roots Radio is presented in partnership with Little Moments Count and Minnesota Public Radio. Little Moments Count is a statewide collaborative focused on helping parents and caregivers learn about the importance of brain development in the first 3 years of life. Nearly 80% of the brain growth happens in the first 1,000 days, and small moments of interaction like talking, playing, reading, and singing help create pathways that build a child's brain during the early stage of life. Hey, I want to introduce our friend Barb Fabre, and you're the CEO of Indigenous Visioning and All Nations Rise. I'm so glad to see you. As always, happy holidays, and great to see you. Thanks for coming on.
For sure. I'm always happy to be here and see you all.
Hey, I got a couple of questions to ask you, but before we get going here, I just want to say the work that you do for our young ones. And as you know, Barb, we have our grandchildren over here twice a week, and just seeing the growth. And I think about Little Moments Count, and I think about your Indigenous box and the work that you've been doing all these years, in a good way. And so I just want to say a big Pinigigi thank you for coming on the show, and the work that you do with Indigenous visioning and All Nations Rise too. Just thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, miigwech. It's always an honor to be here, and always happy to talk about the good things happening in Indian country. Little Moments Count. We're a partner, and we absolutely love them and their messaging about brain development. It is so critical that we read to them babies at least 3 times a day. It'll benefit their adult life. I promise you.
Right. And I think in years past, we've talked, or shows past, I should say, that we've talked about how many words that people learn and in their early development, and how important that is to learn all those words. I have my little granddaughters saying wow all the time, and I'm just going, oh, I guess that is a word, but she says it in so many different ways. It seems like more than one word. But I want to get into, what is the Indigenous Parent Leadership Initiative, and why did you start it?
Sure. I was happy to talk about that. Well, I come across it many years ago, like 2014, and I met some of the parents that went through it and heard their story, and many of their stories sounded like our stories. And so, and I heard, from them, the testimonial and how impactful the Parent Leadership Initiative really is. And so that's what prompted me to say and promise to myself that I got to get that to my tribe. And it took a little while, but we were able to do it. And Indigenous Parent Leadership Initiative that we indigenized, it's a westernized civics course, and we indigenized it for tribal communities. So we added a lot about tribal systems in there. We know that there's a trauma out there, and we've all experienced trauma. So we're also very careful and respectful to make sure that we are not re-triggering our parents as we go through this, because they too have been through a lot. And I'm just so proud of every single one of them. I get the pleasure of interviewing them before they start the class and to ask them why they joined. And many of them told me that it's because they heard from, a friend or a coworker or a relative that was in it before, and they seen the changes and they want that for themselves.
Yeah. How long is your program that you work with these parents that joined your program? How many weeks is that program?
It's a 23-week program, and that includes a retreat, the initial 8 hours that we spend with them. And then we go through nightly classes, 4 hours every night, and we feed them, we provide childcare. And then the end of it is we do a graduation. And it's a formal graduation, and it is absolutely beautiful. There's not a dry eye, and there's so much pride happening in that room. So it's just an amazing program or initiative. And many of the parents that I've talked to in there, they've said it was the best decision they ever made. So when they tell me that, when parents from my own res are telling me that, then it just empowers me even more to, make sure we can spread it throughout Indian country. And that's what we're trying to do with the state of Minnesota.
Yeah. If I remember right, you provide free and meals and childcare, and what else do you provide for these young learners and through your program?
So we start out, it's a self-discovery. So they find out, their vulnerabilities, they find out their strengths, and they themselves have ideas where they know they like public speaking is not something that um, it comes natural for some. So we try to provide them with all those skills. They all have these wonderful skills, but they just need to be honed in. And if they didn't do public speaking, before, after the class, they are ready to do public speaking. And that's the beauty of this. It transforms them not into just informed and empowered parents. It turns them into an advocate, a lifelong advocate for children, for their child, their neighbor's children. So it's kind of a almost rebirth, if you want to think of that, because they realized they had this power all along. And just to see them, some of them where they are now, is just amazing.
Well, most of us have some kind of trauma through boarding school and all those things that, our grandparents or even our parents weren't good at hugging and telling them they love us. And so this is so important, the work that you do, because it's something that we all long for, and you give it through this great organization.
Yeah, and it I don't think we do anything. It's the curriculum and that self-discovery that really kicks in. And after they realize what they can do, they have, like I said, they all have these skills. It's just they're buried. Some may be buried that have never been used. And so when they graduate, they're ready to go sit at these tables and provide testimony on lived experiences, on systems and policies that that affect them, and they have a voice. They found their voice, so they don't feel as vulnerable.
This is exciting. Let's talk more and take a quick break here. We're with Barb Fabre, the CEO of Indigenous Visioning and All Nations Rise, and we're talking about Little Moments Count and the great work that you do with your people. And we got more to talk about this. So this is Native Roots Radio, and we'll be right back after this short break. Please stay with us. Hoa!
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
Metro Transit has immediate openings for mechanics to help maintain our buses, trains, and support vehicles. It's a great place to work. You'll earn a $4,000 hiring bonus, and in the first year, mechanics earn over $88,000 a year, depending on work shift. Learn more at metrotransit.org/mechanics. Our mechanics get a generous tool allowance and outstanding benefits like great medical and life insurance and a state pension. Don't wait. Apply today at metrotransit.org/mechanics.
The Walker Art Center is a proud supporter of Native Roots Radio, rooted in Lakota aesthetics of geometry, color, and pattern. Deani Whitehawk's abstractions are rich in meaning, honoring generations of Native artists. Explore her wide-ranging practice, including vivid beading paintings, sculptures, and video installations, and Deani Whitehawk's love language. The Walker is always free on Thursday nights, and citizens and members of tribal nations always get free admission. Plan your visit and get tickets at walkerart.org.
Do you know that from birth to age 3, simple activities like talking, playing, reading, storytelling, and singing can boost your child's development? Little Moments Count provides parents and caregivers with the resources they need to make the most of your time together. Visit littlemomentscount.org for resources designed to support you in giving your child the best start in life. Again, please visit littlemomentscount.org.
I'm Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, and I want to be your next United States Senator, and you are listening to Native Roots Radio.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot. Hey, welcome back, everyone. And this is our Little Moments Count show. This episode of Native Roots Radio is presented in partnership with Little Moments Count and Minnesota Public Radio. And we are here with our friend Barb. Barb, so much going on, but yet, you guys are doing such good work, and the parents are doing such good work. It's really good with the things that are going around nationally. It's really good to be able to talk to you about this stuff and really put a good light on what's happening with your community and the community impact and change. Welcome back, and can you share a success story of how a parent who completed your program went on to make positive changes in their community? Do you have a cool story you could tell us?
One of the staff, one of my staff, I actually hired one of our graduates, and she has her own personal story of why she joined IPLI. And it was a moment when she was very vulnerable. She decided to, she dumped all her drugs down the toilet and just went cold turkey, stayed in her home for a long time until she seen our flyer. And she joined the class. And I have seen her grow over the last 3 years. She went back to school. She's got a new relationship. She's expecting a new baby. We just hired her. She graduated in May with her social work degree. She's got her own house, and it's, things are just really have turned around for her in a short 4 years. But that's because, she was determined to begin with. But then IPLI just gave her the tools and the empowerment to take control of her life. And, so that one person had such the impact on that one person. I'm watching it every day because I get to work with her, and I see the growth. I see the pride. I see how much she wants other parents to be in the program because she knows what it did for her and her family. So, and she wants that. She is just, a real inspiration and very, very humble. She's very humble. And so, when we have stories like that, we've got many stories like that. And, they each have their own individual journey. So it's, some take the class and don't finish their community projects for whatever reason. And that's just fine. When they're ready, they will come and do the community project. And the community project is, after the class, you get to use your skills, and then you do a project that's your passion, whatever your passion is. And we provide you a small grant to do that, and you're able to demonstrate the skills that you have discovered, and and it's kind of a way to give back to the community, because all the community projects are geared to help benefit their community.
That's amazing, and that story alone is just worth all the effort that you have put on an IPLI. We understand that the parents are often left out of the decisions and that are made for our children. How does your program help parents find their voice and get a seat at that important table that we always talk about here on Native Roots Radio?
Well, I'm a recovering school board member, and I had many parents come in to our school board meetings over the 8 years that I served, and very, very passionate about something that happened to them or their family. And so they come in to, express their concern or anything. And 9 times out of 10, they can't finish because they're either angry, they're mad, their whole point of why they came is lost, because it's so passionate for them. And so when now, these parents can come in there and they're ready to, their emotions are checked. They know what to do. They know how to self-regulate themselves to not get to that frustration or anger, and how to get their point across. And so much that we've had many of our cohorts go on local boards, councils. We've had many go on statewide, federal, philanthropy, and they go on these national committees on policy work, and they're there sharing their voice as a lived experience, and they tell them how this policy may or may not work for their family and why. And so it's just giving them the real, often, how many times have you seen, committees where there's a lot of people there, but are there any, community members, parents like you, to your point? No. So that's what this really does too, is it really prepares them to sit at those tables and be a professional advocate.
How long has IPLI been around?
Well, NPLI, the National Parent Leadership, has been around, I would say a little over 10 years that I know of, and maybe they've been around longer, but I know they were around in 2014. And our IPLI, I believe our first grant in cohort was in, 25. So I think 2022 was our first cohort. And we're going on cohort 4. And then we'll be doing cohort 5 in 2026. And the state of Minnesota is put out an RFP so that if communities want to implement PLTI or the Indigenous one, IPLI, they have an RFP out right now so that people, whether in urban or rural settings, could initiate their own, and we get the pleasure of working with the tribal ones. So
that's cool. So that brings us to, how does IPLI help connect parents back to their cultural identity? And we know by talking many times that how important that is for both sides of the table, but how important it is for our IPLI people.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, we're Indigenous. We know that our culture is a healing and a protective factor. So that's, that's the beauty of it. And when we went to elders to ask them what those foundational teachings should be, they were very honest. And with that information, Dr. Anton Troyer was able to create that cultural curriculum, and he was able to kind of weave it into the NPLI or PLTI curriculum so that they kind of coincide. And one of the things that we did change, or adapt, I should say, not change, but one of the sessions was on ACEs. And, it was a very brief session, and the facilitators at the time said, no, we can't just spend 20 minutes on this, talk about ACE, and then move on as if, So they were allowed to adapt that session, and we go into it deeper, because you can't just talk about ACEs and and then move on, 10 minutes later. It's very traumatic to, remember, and there's a lot of blood memory out there. So yeah, we're very aware of that and respectful.
Our time flies by so quickly. Do you mind let people know how they can find out more information about this and about your business too? We got like a minute left, and if you could spit out some websites and Facebook pages and stuff, that would be great, Barb.
Sure. And if anybody wants to get a hold of me directly, my cell is 218-280-4372, and I'd be happy to talk to you about IPLI. My email is barb@indigenousvisioning.com, and our website is allnationsrise.com, and we're unveiling a brand new website in the coming weeks, so make sure you come and visit us there.
Well, I just want to say a big peeny gigi as always. Thank you so much for coming on. Great to see you. Hey, and I love your posts on Facebook too. I'm following you, all the great work you're doing, and again, I just appreciate you coming on as always. And it's just happy holidays. And we didn't get to talk about my favorite subject, those indigenous boxes, but we'll get you on again. We'll get you on again. And we'll
Please do.
Yes. Thank you so much. Good to see
Good
you.
to see you, Robert.
Right on. Up next, we have Arvina Martin, and we're overworking her again, so she'll be on, and we got things to talk about. This is Native Roots Radio. We'll be right back. Hoa.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
Metro Transit has immediate openings for mechanics to help maintain our buses, trains, and support vehicles. It's a great place to work. You'll earn a $4,000 hiring bonus, and in the first year, mechanics earn over $88,000 a year, depending on work shift. Learn more at metrotransit.org/mechanics. Our mechanics get a generous tool allowance and outstanding benefits like great medical and life insurance and a state pension. Don't wait. Apply today at metrotransit.org/mechanics.
Do you know that from birth to age 3, simple activities like talking, playing, reading, storytelling, and singing can boost your child's development? Little Moments Count provides parents and caregivers with the resources they need to make the most of your time together. Visit littlemomentscount.org for resources designed to support you in giving your child the best start in life. Again, please visit littlemomentscount.org.
The Walker Arts Center is a proud supporter of Native Roots Radio. Visit Deani Whitehawk, Love Language, an exhibition that celebrates the Sichangu Lakota artist, centered on connection between one another, past and present, earth and sky, and traditions of Lakota abstraction. Love Language is a sweeping survey of Whitehawk's work. The Walker is always free on Thursday nights, and citizens and members of tribal nations always get free admission. More info at walkerart.org.
Greg Bakken here. I've told you about the out-of-the-world roast beef sandwiches at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, but I haven't told you about their Philly steak sandwiches, turkey bacon avocado sandwich, BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com.
Hi, this is Ryan, owner of Snap Construction. It's been great working with so many of the passionate AM 950 listeners over the years. We have realized how important AM 950 is to the community. I want to see AM 950 continue to grow and continue to thrive into the future. To help continue to grow, Snap Construction will be putting up proceeds to assist the station in marketing on social media. Snap Construction encourages you to do your part by liking and sharing the content on AM 950's social media platforms.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950. Ryan has always told me the best time to get work done is during the colder months of the year because demand is much lower. He is backing that up again by offering 30% off labor on windows and siding from now until the end of December. Call Snap Construction now to get 30% off labor on windows and siding. As always, Snap Construction stands by their work with a lifetime craftsmanship warranty. Trust the company AM 950 trusts Snap Construction, arguably the most well-reviewed roofing, siding, and window contractor in the metro area. Get a free estimate by calling 612-333-SNAP or find them online at snapconstruction.com. Financing options available.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Tonight, rain expected with a low of 33. Thursday, snow possible with temperatures falling to 16. Keeping the progressive voices you love on air here at AM 950 isn't easy, and we need your support. Head to am950radio.com and make a donation if you can. You'll get our 6th annual AM 950 calendar as a thank you. That's am950radio.com.
You're listening to AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Oh, this is Dallas Goldtooth, and you're listening to the Native Roots Radio. Hoka, hicha, wecha.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot. Hey, welcome back, everyone. We are here again with our friend Arvina Martin and Director of Emerge Wisconsin, but also our big political political, keeping an eye on the Alan, analyst. Well, how could I forget that? Because I go to weekly therapy, so how could I forget that word? Great to see you. A lot going on as usual. Thank you so much for coming back in. Say, this show, Arvina, I don't know if you know this or remember this, but Native Roots Radio was started because of Enbridge and started because of Dakota Access Pipeline. Almost 10 years ago, and we started Native Roots Radio because of all the lack of, the mainstream media wasn't covering it, and very little, and so we had a little weekly show that talked a lot about that, and that's how we fired up Native Roots Radio. And then we've had our own fights here in Minnesota since then with Line 3, with Enbridge, and we've had people from Bad River come on the show and talk about what's happening in Wisconsin, but there's something happening right now. I'd love for you to be able to tell our audience what's happening and with our relatives, Bad River.
Yeah. As you were talking about, the Enbridge building of pipelines remains an issue in Indian country, in Wisconsin in particular, for the Bad River tribe, as the Enbridge has tried to put their pipeline through tribal land, which seems to be seems to be stopped at the moment, but they moved the pipeline to go south of tribal land, but the drilling and the creating of a pipeline like this will still have extremely deleterious effects on the sloughs, the Kakagan sloughs, which is, I believe, the largest wild rice beds on Lake Superior, which is very concerning. And these sloughs and these wetlands all around Lake Superior are what help keep the waters of Lake Superior clean, and help keep that environment in that stasis where it's supposed to be in a healthy ecosystem. And Bad River has just the Bad River tribe has filed a new lawsuit against the Army Corps of Engineers, saying that it violated federal environmental laws when they granted the permit to Enbridge for the reroute of Line 5. The tribe is claiming that the Corps is violating the Clean Water Act and the National Environmental National Environmental Policy Act, and they're looking for a federal judge to overturn that permit and the final environmental assessment. I think that we are to the point where, we know that it's not an if a pipeline fails, it's when. They've all failed at some point. And that means that we have these oil or petroleum products that are going into the ecosystems where they have those pipelines have failed. And those have such extreme impacts on the environments in which it infects. Like I said, these are very sensitive ecosystems in the wetlands, and again are ones that help protect the largest freshwater source of water, or source of fresh water in the United States, I think the world even, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But this is a major step, and good on Bad River for exercising their tribal sovereignty and protecting not just their tribal lands, but the ecosystems surrounding their lands.
Absolutely. And, we know pipelines. Well, let me just start by saying this again. We are giving carte blanche to a foreign company that's not even from the United States. The oil doesn't stay here. It goes off on a ship and goes somewhere else. And Enbridge is a Canadian company, and they have dummy companies, so they can't get sued when they do these spills, which happens all the time. Enbridge has the largest spill ever recorded, I believe, about 10 years ago, ever. And yet, we have forms of our government with the DNR and all these people, the Army Corps of Engineers, that are signing off on this. And this is, again, we wouldn't have this show, Arvina, if it wasn't for Standing Rock. And the whole thing with Standing Rock was the pipeline was originally going to go through Bismarck, and they said, we don't want it going through our city because pipelines leak. Let's put it through Standing Rock Tribe.
Yeah, exactly. And Enbridge has already had a spill in Wisconsin, and it was last year. They spilled almost like 70,000 gallons from their line 6, and it has contaminated the soil. And how it seems like an employee found the leak. But it sounds like this is a leak that kind of just slowly grew, and which means that their detection systems for finding leaks, there's something lacking. And like I said, this was last year, and almost 70,000 gallons of crude oil, and again, it has contaminated the soil. I don't know how, their response has not shown us that they are somebody that we should be trusting, with the importance of protecting what we have in northern Wisconsin, what the Bad River tribe has as their land, and what we as human beings need to be doing to protect our fresh water. It's absurd.
Well, Arvina, I'm just going to remind our listeners too, it's like peanut butter going through these pipes. It's so thick, and the chemicals they use to be able to move this sludge through these pipelines, they won't even tell us what it is. We don't even know what's going through these pipelines.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of, there's a lot of investigation going on. There's again not been a lot of transparency from what those chemicals are that are going to be going through those pipes, but also when something happens. Again, I want to emphasize, this is not if something happens, right. It is when it happens, because it will. And we already have, instances of this company failing to protect the land and the ecosystems around their pipelines. And I don't know how the public is supposed to be able to trust this organization to keep these very, very precious and very needed resources. I know a lot of labor guys. I know a lot of labor folks and people that are workers, and they're the ones that build all of the infrastructure. And I know that there are a lot of unions that are very pro these pipelines because there are jobs. And I do not begrudge, I understand what they're fighting for. I just think that we need to be fighting for something a lot more long term than just jobs. But again, like I said, people need jobs. I understand that, but we've got to find better ways to get people employed.
Well, let's remind everybody what happened here for line 3 about jobs. And there were people that had, good union jobs, but they came from all over the country. They were not from Minnesota. And the few jobs that they did give to Minnesotans were contract jobs. So they didn't get health care. They got a lot cheaper wage. They're holding a flag, on the street. And then we had all these people from all over the country, mostly males, coming into the community up north that were doing bad things. And you can imagine one of the bad things, but I'll tell you too, they got a amount of money, a stipend to live, pay for a hotel or whatever. Instead, they would go to homeless places. So then they were taking up homeless seats. And so this is just, it isn't a union thing. This is people coming in and taking advantage of our state. And it's sickening.
And you bring up the man camps, and
yes.
there is demonstrable evidence that these man camps lead to a significant increase in violent crime, particularly sex trafficking. And that area of our state is already prone to trafficking because of its location, and being able to then traffic people across the border, across the lake, and those are our relatives, a lot of them, that are being trafficked. And it's alarming, and it's dangerous, and it's danger. These camps often, it's just exasperating, that this happens, and we should be working on preventing this kind of stuff from happening. There's so many negative impacts, including the environmental, including the sex trafficking that is not necessarily directly associated, but comes along with having so many folks housed, that are doing the work, that are doing the labor. They're not from the area. They have to stay in these temporary camps. And we've already got evidence that bad things happen when those camps pop up.
Absolutely. Arvina, I think we're putting it lightly there. I agree. I'm glad you brought that up. And we got less than 50 seconds here, and I just want to say a big peeny for you being on. Let's talk a little bit about what's happening tonight and what's happening politically. But this was great to lead off, because this is who we are here at Native Roots Radio. We believe in fighting these pipelines big time. So thanks for bringing that up, and we'll be right back. This is Native Roots Radio. The Walker Arts Center is a proud supporter of Native Roots Radio, rooted in Lakota aesthetics of geometry, color, and pattern. Diani Whitehawk's abstractions are rich in meaning, honoring generations of Native artists. Explore her wide-ranging practice, including vivid beading paintings, sculptures, and video installations, and Diani Whitehawk's love language. The Walker is always free on Thursday nights, and citizens and members of tribal nations always get free admission. Plan your visit and get tickets at walkerart.org.
Minnesotans age 65 plus might qualify for Health Partners Minnesota Senior Health Options. The easy all-in-one plan includes personal support, coverage for medical, prescription drugs, and dental, plus many extra benefits. Eligibility information is available at healthpartners.com/oneplan. Health Partners is a health plan that contracts with both Medicare and the Minnesota Medical Assistance Medicaid program to provide benefits of both programs to enrollees. Enrollment in Health Partners depends on contract renewal. Do you know that from birth to age 3, simple activities like talking, playing, reading, storytelling, and singing can boost your child's development? Little Moments Count provides parents and caregivers with the resources they need to make the most of your time together. Visit littlemomentscount.org for resources designed to support you in giving your child the best start in life. Again, please visit littlemomentscount.org.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot. Hey, welcome back, everyone. We are here with Arvina Martin. And Arvina, before we get going here to the nuts and bolts here at the end of the show, I want people to be able to get a hold of you. You come and talk to businesses. You do a lot of things in the community. And again, come and hire Arvina to talk to your group and talk about things in a good Native way. Give us your email and how people can get a hold of you.
Yeah, look me up on LinkedIn. That will probably be the easiest way to get me and make sure that your message doesn't get lost in my inbox. But you can also email me at arvina.martin@gmail.com. I would love to come talk about especially engaging Native youth and engaging us, all of us as Native people, and getting us to participate and make our voices heard in political conversations that are happening every day. Our voices are part of this conversation, and we need to make sure that they are listening to us. And I would love to help any groups that are trying to find their voice, individuals that are trying to find their voice, to work on how to affect change in these systems that were never built for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things too, a call to action, what we were talking about. And now, do people need to get a hold of with this Enbridge DNR in Wisconsin? How do we support our relatives, Bad River relatives?
That's a great question. And I believe that there are still ways to reach out to Wisconsin DNR about it. I know that there have been hundreds of thousands of comments that have been submitted both at the state and federal level. Your best bet would probably be to contact your state and federal legislators about this to get them to also put some skin in the game and get some more eyes and work done on this situation, and they can direct you to the proper departments and who to reach out to make sure that your voice is heard and is on the record.
We talk a lot and of course, there's a lot of things going on right now nationally with that affect our tribes and our tribal sovereignty. But every once in a while, there's some good news. And you sent me something about the Lumbee tribe. Let's talk a little bit about that. That's excellent. After a long period of time of really trying to make this happen.
Yeah, as part of, I believe it was a defense spending bill that was passed today. The
Mhm.
Lumbee Recognition Act is part of that. So I believe all it needs before it becomes a law is a signature from the president. And which, I will be willing to begrudge him a win. Um, Not a guy that I
Yeah.
think gets a lot of stuff done that does well for us, but recognizing the sovereignty of the Lumbee people, I think is great. They've had state recognition. They've been occupied a weird place where the federal government has recognized some parts, but has refused to give them full federal recognition. And I would be remiss if I did not take the opportunity to shout out someone I met when I was a senior in high school, when we both were flown out to Dartmouth College to check it out to see if we would go. We both ultimately did. But Heather McMillan Anakai, who has worked tirelessly. That is the person who I know, that's where I heard about the Lumbees and heard about their fight for recognition. And I know that she's worked since we were 17, 18 years old on this issue, and I'm really proud of the work that she's done, and proud of this is something that I'm celebrating with her today. I'm really proud of her.
And your cat's celebrating too.
And my cat is celebrating too. Yay.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's over 30 years of them dealing with this, and good on them. And thanks for being our reporter and bringing that up, because we do need good news every once in a while. One of the things too, tonight, are you? We have our grandchildren over here, so I don't think we're going to be watching Trump. And I'm sick of hearing all of his lies. And so, what is your take on that tonight?
I honestly forgot. um,
Whoops.
I know. But
Sorry.
no, that's okay. I may begrudgingly listen, and I am actually not sure what he thinks he's going to be talking about, or like, I imagine it's not going to be good news. There's not a lot of great things that are happening at the moment that he could highlight, but I imagine whatever it is going to be a big display to distract us from what's happening with the Epstein files and what is happening with our economy. Especially right now during the holidays, people not being able to afford to provide the Christmas to their families that they want to, or wish they were able to. Lots of people that are just scraping by because prices for everything just keep going up, and these tariffs keep making all of these prices go up. So I imagine whatever he's trying to do is to distract us from the pain that we all feel every day when we have to pay bills, and whatever is happening in the Epstein files. So to me,
Yeah.
it's all a big distraction. And
Yeah.
not to forget the article that just came out in Vanity Fair.
Yes.
I have yet to read, but I've seen tremendous amounts of analysis on the pictures they've included. And how those editorial choices of the pictures that they've chosen, either the extreme close-ups or them standing next to walls. It's been very interesting to hear people talk about those artistic and editorial choices, and I still have to read the article, the interview with his chief of staff, Susie Wiles. But
Well,
it doesn't look good for him. I mean, like, it doesn't make the administration look great.
no, not at all. And I like Jack Smith tells lawmakers today that his team developed proof beyond a reasonable doubt against Trump, and I also like too that some Republicans are going against the speaker and are going to be bringing back our Affordable Care Act bill. And really, they need to do something, because this insurance is going to be going so high in a matter of weeks, a few weeks.
I mean, we are talking less than 2 weeks that prices will jump, and not not a little jump. Like they're talking double-digit percentages here, and this again is going to affect all of us. If you have healthcare on the ACA, that affects you. If you have healthcare through your employer, you are still going to be affected. It's really scary. And if you have time to get go to the dentist quick, or before the end of the year, or can get something done before these prices raise, go do it. If you live contact your federal legislators, particularly if you have a Republican legislator, to get them to sign on to this discharge bill to get somebody to vote, because Mike Johnson will not schedule a vote without being forced to. And that is, terrifying leadership right there.
Yeah, well, we got 8 Republicans that have flipped, so they are going to be voting on this. So that's good on them, and probably a survival thing for them. Arvina, we got 30 seconds. We got the last word.
Packers suffered some devastating injuries, but we're going to be ready to go this week.
Good one. Appreciate you. Thanks so much for overtime again for coming on, and we really appreciate your words. And yes, go Pack.
Go Pack, go. See you next time.
We'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much. We'll be back tomorrow.